Hello everybody, my name is Hero of Warfare and welcome back to another one of my siege defense guides. Today we're covering Grand Cathay. First I just want to say thank you so much for everyone who watched my Ogre siege defense video, which has over 2k views right now, which is way more than any of my other videos, so thank you so much for that. And let's try to get all of the other ones also up to that amount or even further. It would make me really happy. So let's jump right into it, shall we? This video is gonna be a little bit longer because Grand Cathay has a few things going for her, or them, I guess. So let's first jump into the minor siege settlement garrisons. They have only the regular garrison building, which provides a few melee units and some archer units and some cavalry, which are all great units to have. And the main, or the settlement building itself, it provides a lot of garrison units actually, and a lot of really good ones. The Celestial Dragon Crossbowmen and the Celestial Dragon Guard. They are really strong units and they can hold for a long time and deal a lot of damage. So they are one of the stronger garrisons you will get from the Warhammer 3 races. And from the capital settlements or buildings, this is a pretty unique situation because you have a garrison building with two different kinds basically. One which is yang and one which is yin. The yin one provides more elite archer units, so here you would get more Jade Warrior crossbowmen and even Celestial Dragon crossbowmen, but you will get only peasant spearmen, so worse melee units. And with yang it's the opposite, you will get more and stronger melee warriors but worse archer units, so you see you only get a few peasant archers and Jade Warrior crossbowmen. And with the main settlement building in the capital, you also get pretty much the same stuff, but of course tier 4 and tier 5 gives you some better elite units. The Skyjank especially is really strong. So Grand Cathay definitely has a lot going for them when it comes to siege defense. And the bastions also very unique to Grand Cathay. Here you have these unique buildings that can provide growth and casualty replenishment. This one provides something unique or something very beneficial to the actual siege defense when you are being attacked, giving you extra supplies and more supplies if you're going to be taking attrition, if you're being besieged over several turns. Also more ammunition, which is really useful. This one gives minus to upkeep and campaign line of sight, which is really good if you're just gonna have like an army standing in your bastion, which I recommend doing for the campaign. And this one gives less attrition, more recruitment cost reduction and recruit ranks. So all of these are great, and yeah, this is just the other buildings. Plus you get a lot of units from the settlement itself. So these are very strong and you can defend against great odds. But of course these guys, they love to come and just tear you down, or at least try to. They will send out super strong armies even early on, and as you can see they're coming with more war mammoths and stuff like that. And of course we have to remember to check out the Wuxing compass, because if you do the compass in this direction, the Great Bastion, you will also get up to 2,500 extra defensive supplies, which is great. Plus you will also get the Celestial Intervention when you are in Cathay, so if you're being besieged in any of the like settlements that are in Cathay area, you will get this really strong bombardment spell. Take note though that it actually takes a while before it like comes down from the heaven. Kind of like the Comet of Casadora. So make sure the enemy is like locked in place before you use it. So that is pretty much everything that you can do before the siege itself. Of course there are a few buildings, like this one for example, which gives more supplies, but that's just for this particular settlement, so that doesn't really count. And as per usual, we're going to go through some replays, so be right back with those. Okay, so with this first replay, this is a minor siege settlement defense. This is a decent garrison with the level 1 defensive building, the garrison building. and I'm being attacked by Tzeentch, and Kairos is coming as a reinforcement. So if it was just this, then it would be no problem, but Kairos is coming with his starting army, which has a soul grinder in it and a exalted burning chariot, which is really strong, and of course Kairos himself is really strong. And these screamers, they are also pretty strong, especially against my cavalry. So they just have a lot, and spoiler alert, this is actually going to be a valiant defeat, but I am showing it anyway because I recognize that I make some mistakes here, and I want to show you that like, no one is perfect, you can make mistakes, and it's important to try and learn from them. So you can see, even with just like this starting army, I'm just pause it, even with this starting army that they have, the balance of power is pretty much even, so with the rest coming in we will be massively outmatched. But the strategy I make here is to attack one of their vulnerable sides. Some of the reason behind it is because I like to defend with this defensive position here, because they won't come from this side since they are spawning from over there, so I don't have to worry about them coming from behind. And also the towers are really like well positioned here, one over here which can shoot when they come from this angle, and one here which can shoot when they come from these two angles, and also a little bit from this angle. And we have like a natural defense against a lot of missile units and stuff like that, so it's really easy to defend, which is great. And also because there were no lords or anything like that, only infantry units there, that's why I wanted to just go straight ahead. But the way I did it could probably have been done better. I just send in my peasant units. They're gonna take a lot of damage because they're not armored, and they also have no shields. So I probably should have sent in my armored units, to be honest, because they would have taken less damage, even though my reasoning or my thought process behind it was that peasants are worth way less. But I think that actually was a mistake in this case. But you live and you learn, right? So I wrap up over here pretty soon, pretty fast, so no problem there. These guys are coming in just like normal. And as you can see over here, Kairos himself, a lot of some blue horse and some pink horse, some screamers, furies, the exalted chariot or burning chariot. I don't remember all the names. And where is it? There is the soul grinder. So a pretty strong army, and you can see that the balance of power is now against me, even though I just wiped out half of his initial army. So we are kind of screwed, or we are not in the best of positions. So with Grand Cathay, I recommend building the tier 4 towers if you can, because they are the Hellstorm rocket battery ones. They shoot a lot of rockets, which is really strong against infantry. Tzeentch is probably one of the factions that are kind of good against towers because of the barrier though. So it's a little bit unfortunate right there. But the tier 3 tower, which I'm going to build over here when I get enough supplies, is also really good. It's the cannon tower, which is, it got an explosive, but it's just a one-shot, so it's more accurate than this one. This one can be pretty inaccurate, especially against large units and stuff like that. And here I kind of make another mistake. I'm so eager trying to get back and getting into a proper defensive position. Right now you can see all my units are really clumped up in a really bad position to do anything. So here they come with some Chaos Furies, which what I should have done is position some of my archers here to shoot when they try to come at me, and move some of my units back at a time, like covering my retreat back basically. So that's another mistake I do. I actually made quite a few in this battle. But you know, live and you learn. My cav is a little bit damaged, but it's quite okay. I actually make some mistakes with them also later on in this fight. I underestimate two things. One is like the corner and how your unit is trying to like move around corners. They can be a little bit clunky sometimes, And the other is how freaking strong the screamers are. Do we have some screamers? Yeah. They have 60 weapon strength and they have 25 bonus versus large. So they're actually really strong against cavalry. So don't underestimate them if you're going up against them if you have like large units, especially cavalry. So here you can see my tower is not really effective against these kind of enemies, more against the infantry blobs of blue and pink horse. So I'm gonna fast forward a little bit. And remember, with Grand Cathay you actually get a summon of ancestral warriors. They have 75% physical resistance and anti-large, so they can be really good. But you only get them if you are in harmony on the campaign map, which I am when I'm fighting this battle. But I don't have the explosion celestial intervention, I think it was called. If I had that, then maybe I could have won it, but you know, hard to say. But yeah, you have a lot of defensive tools when it comes to Grand Cathay. Okay, let me just fast forward a little bit more. So initially this is pretty good defensive position, but what I should have done right here is keep all of my archers just ready to shoot over here instead of trying to keep them here, because no one is even close to getting over this way. So I should have just killed these guys as fast as possible, especially the screamers, and I should have sent in someone with melee to take out the pink horse and not let them fire, because they are really strong actually, especially against my lowly armored non-shield units. See this? They take quite a lot of damage. And also my tower is shooting over here instead, so yeah, a lot of things are not going in my favor, not going the way I want it. I have my cavalry here. Maybe I should have just sent them in and dealt with the pink horse, but I was kind of afraid of all their other units that would collapse. My plan was to use my cavalry and recapture some points, which I do indeed do, but it might be a little bit too late at that point. So yeah, here you can see that I do take care of all their screamers and their chaos furies, but I do take a lot of damage in the process. As you can see, my units are getting wrecked by their horrors. So here I have the tier 3 cannon tower, which is pretty strong. And at this point I don't think I do it. I should select all my archer unit and focus on one target. I think I do it eventually, but I should have done it way earlier, because when it comes to the demon factions, they crumble and disintegrate if they have low leadership. So if you're focusing down one at a time, then you will get way better results. That are just like micro things that could have helped me in this particular battle. I think I do it a little bit more here. As you can see, they are taking way more damage than the other ones did. And I'm using my cavalry to run around. I was thinking of capturing these points, but I feel pretty desperate at this point. So I send my guys around, and as you can see here, look at this. This is some really bad pathfinding from the units. So I tried to manually send them around here, which, you know, it does work, but takes a long time and they struggle with killing them. They don't do a lot of damage. That's really unfortunate. And here comes Kairos, the Screamers and the Soul Grinder. They are busy with my ancestral warriors, which I summoned here. And the Soul Grinder is actually one of the biggest reasons that I lose this, because at this point I don't have a lot of ammunition left, and what I do have I'm trying to use on the Burning Chariot, which is getting a lot of damage. I am taking it out quite fast, and also the Lord and Hero and Kairos, they are just disrupting my lines really heavily. So if I maybe try to get more damage on the Soul Grinder, or if I took less damage from the Screamers over here, like maybe I could have pulled the victory out, but it's really close. So I think only Kairos and the Lord survived in the end. So let me just fast forward a little bit. But as you can see, the Screamers, they do a lot of damage. Not quickly, but they do take care of my cavalry. So I see, okay, I'm not winning this fight anymore. I pull them out and I try to recapture the point. Over here I am just holding down, trying to take down the Sword Grinder and the Blue Horse with my towers. I do take Kairos pretty damn low. It's not enough. And unfortunately the retreat line, of course, is really close, so when my guys break, they just run away. And this Celestial Dragon Crossbowmen, they're almost routing. So I'm getting a little bit unlucky here, but at this point it's coming down to the nail-biting, real nail-biter. So you can see the Soul Grinder is taking a lot of damage, but it's not dying. At this point, maybe it would have been better to convert this back to a tier 3 tower, to be honest, because it doesn't do a lot of damage against single entities, so that's something I should have considered. Yeah, Kairos actually died, I forgot about that. And you can see how much damage the Soul Grinder has taken, but also how much it has dealt out. 14k, that's a lot. And the Lord is forced to land, so it's super close. If it weren't for my guys routing here, maybe I could have pulled out the defense. But yeah, it's so close. I tried to get all my guys around to like finish off this hero and the Lord, but yeah, Soul Grinder just didn't have enough, and I made some mistakes along the way. But at least this is a really strong defensive position. I have held out really strong here before, when I first played Grand Cathay, when Warhammer 3 first came out. And here I'm gonna show you another one, which is actually a defeat, before I show you my victories. Just to show you that even if it is an insurmountable odds, and even if you do lose, if you deal a lot of damage to them, then that can be enough to win in the in the grand scheme of things. Like in that previous battle, for example, against Kairos and Tzeentch, that made them only sack the settlement and then skedaddle out. So that actually happens a lot if you make a really valiant defeat, make the cost of winning too high, then they will just sack the settlement, sometimes raise it, and just skedaddle out. So you will kind of have held, and it's kind of a victory in itself. This map right here I don't find very strong, especially if you don't have a strong garrison. I am not 100% sure if this was the best defensive position here, but it's what I went with. So I'm trying to hold this point because it has 3 towers and some barricades. So I'm holding with my Jade Warriors, with halberds and my regular Jade Warriors, trying to use my archers as effectively as possible, sorry, and using my magic. So this would have worked pretty well against most factions, but Bloodletters and of course, you know, these Cornet units, they are super strong, and you can see they are just melting through my units. If I had Celestial Intervention right here, oof, that would have been juicy. But unfortunately I did not. So I am using my cavalry to just run around, not really engage, trying to keep them as a recapturing force. But at this point I am a little bit worried because I am getting flanked like in the back. I am not winning this hard enough, so I have to pull up here because they're coming from this angle. And I initially had some units over here, so I pull them back. And I have to pull my archers back to kill these Bloodletters. I do win this flank, but they pretty much wrecked my Jade Warriors. And look at this cheeky little bastard. He survives barely. He chases after my lord, and I think, okay, no big deal, I'm just gonna like shoot him down. But they're not accurate enough, and for some reason they're shooting over there. And look at this. A few hits and he almost kills my hero. And he actually routs him, so yeah, don't underestimate these corn guys. They are freaking strong. Look at this, 80 melee attack, flaming and magical attacks. It does come back, but that was really unfortunate. And I do have a strong position here, defensive position, but the problem is that they're coming from both sides and I don't have enough to fend off both sides and take him out. So I desperately try to cavalry charge with my peasant horsemen. They are not really good in melee at all, so do what I can, but it doesn't really work out. And of course with limited ammunition it's not gonna work out too well, but it really comes down to the haywire here as well. As you can see, I take out most of the Chaos Warriors and most of the Bloodletters. At this point I say, okay, I'm not gonna win this straight up, even with the towers. They're gonna capture this point, so I just try to say bye-bye and run over here and try to hold this position. But the problem is that these, the Bloodletters, let me click on you. As you can see, they have 38 speed and my guys have less than that. Well, the horsemen of course have more, but they are wavering and almost breaking, so I knew at this point that if they just come close, I'm just gonna get army loss penalties and lose. So I was trying to go and recapture some points, but at this point I just didn't have enough forces for it to matter, unfortunately. Maybe if I had used my cavalry to recapture some points earlier on and then had them come over there, maybe I could have won. So again, a few mistakes, but you live and you learn, right? Alright, so this is actually a victory, and as you can see I do have a little bit better troops with this one. So I guess the other one was a tier 1 and this is a tier 2 settlement, I think. And this is also a better map in my opinion. They really go for the round ones, right? But yeah, it's a pretty big map. Doesn't really look big on this minimap, but it's pretty big. And one thing that I recommend that you always do when you're siege defending and siege attacking as well, but especially when you're siege defending, look at the supply locations and look how well or how easy they are to defend, and how many towers you can build there and how many barricades, and see which one is better. So I go for this one. I say, okay, there's only one tower, but I can defend this choke point, I can defend this choke point, and they're coming from over here, so I just kill them first and then I can just easily defend this point. So thanks to the compass, I start with a fair amount of resources. I'm able to build the tier 3 tower right away, the cannon tower. I put my cavalry on the flank and okay, I got a little bit surprised actually when I was fighting this, because I was pretty much only checking over here. I wasn't checking over here, so I only saw these infantry units, right? So I was like, okay, no problem, I'm just gonna wait until they are low on morale and then I'm just gonna cycle charge them and break them. But I didn't see this guy, this Chaos Warhounds, so I got a little bit surprised by them. And as you can see, they are actually charging right into my cavalry and doing a lot of damage. They are routing them pretty fast, but I am able to get them a little bit away and send these guys out. So the Chaos Warhounds, they get an appetite for some peasants, some long spearmen peasants. So my cap comes back, and that's pretty good because I need them later. At this defensive position, my Celestial Dragon Guards and my Jade Warriors, they can hold pretty easily. My archers do a lot of damage. Same with over here, I can hold these guys away pretty handily. And as you're gonna see in a second now, so yeah, there you can see the Celestial Intervention spell or ability. takes like 8 or 9 seconds, but boom! Actually did a lot of damage to myself there. But it was worth it. That was 2 letters of blood letters basically gone. So yeah, having that ability is pretty good. I do recommend it if you are up against a lot of enemies and you have to defend Cathay. And here comes the Ancestral Warrior summon. That one you get just from having harmony throughout your faction or your empire, which isn't that hard to do. Guess I can make a guide on that also, if that is interesting for people. So I upgrade the tower to tier 4 because it's better against infantry, and they only have infantry left. So at this point it's pretty easy to defend. I see that they are splitting up a fair bit, which they often do. They often try to capture all the points, and simultaneously they try to attack your defensive position. So you can utilize that, and like I say in most of my siege defenses, try to attack the most vulnerable side while you hold one position. So this is a pretty valid strategy around pretty much all of the races and factions. Of course, I'm gonna have to make a separate guide on all of the other races from Warhammer 1 and Warhammer 2, but we will get to that eventually. So thankfully we get the army loss penalty and I don't really have to do anything more. So moving on to the next one. This is actually another Valiant defeat, but this one is from the Bastion. And one thing that I wish I had done here is just hire a lord with, I guess, 4 units. Because if you have more than 20 units, then you will get the option to click Control Large Army when you are initiating a battle. What that does is, if you take that box off, meaning you don't control large army, that means you will only have 20 units and the enemy will also only have 20 units on the battlefield simultaneously. And in a situation like this, where I don't have lightning strike or anything like that, and they outnumber me at least 3 or 4 to 1, that would be incredibly beneficial for us. That way we could take them out like 1 by 1, you know? And I didn't have that available to me this time, so I tried to hold the walls a little bit because they are decent, but they're not that great yet because this was a low tier Bastion, I guess only level 1 or level 2. If you get it higher on, like tier 3 or tier 4, I don't really remember, but then you get upgraded towers to cannon towers and the Hellstorm rocket battery towers, and then it's definitely worth manning the towers, especially in like early on like this, and then you can pull them back. I recommend trying to defend this point because they will try to come over here. Sure, they will probably split it up a little bit, go for this point and go for this point, try to come back here. So you should have someone in like defense like this, put your cav for example, maybe some units here. But this is the best defendable point in my opinion, because you can build 2 towers here and 2 towers here, all to the same defensive supply location. And you can also try to defend this point and that point if you think that you can, if you have enough units. Excuse me. But yeah, you don't want to spread your armies or your garrison too thinly. So here I dock on the walls just because it gives you extra range. They send in their Manticore, which kind of screws up my my firing, but yeah, I send in my halberds to deal with that. As you can see, their mammoth has gone berserk from taking damage. So at this point I'm trying to oh my god, can't remember the word for it. Redeploy, that's the word. My archer units, so that they will take down the Pharaoh Mammoth over there and over here as well, holding this choke point basically. Meanwhile, my archers are just killing their guys down there. if I had another lord, like the Yang magic, I recommend is really great because you get the Dragon's Breath, I believe it's called, and the Burning Wind, I think that's what they are called. One is tear-shaped spell and the other one is like a wall that moves slowly. Both are really great damage spells and both are pretty cheap. So I would recommend just popping in a lord if you can. Here you can see the lord from their army is being really annoying, really hard to take down because yeah, my archers doesn't really shoot through my own units or anything like that. He's a little bit blocked. And sorry about that audio, kind of gets like that sometimes in these big battles. I don't know why. I don't know if that's on my end or if it's the game. Really annoying anyway. But yeah, at this point you can see the balance of power. They have 3,500 units in the battle right now, and I have 1,350. So massively outnumbered and outmatched. And I don't have infinite amount of ammunition, you know. So look at this. I do use my Wind of Magic spell here. What's it called again? The celestial one. Wind Blast. But that's not too great. But you know, better than anything or nothing. But also the Marauder Champions, 80 armor, plus they get this Rage ability. Up to 10% extra physical resistance, 8 leadership and 5 melee attack. So really difficult to deal with in a just melee to melee situation. My towers deal a lot of damage, but I don't have enough units to be everywhere, so I have to spread my guys pretty thin. And they are sending people around, so I have to send my my cavalry to deal with them, trying to build barricades all over the place, trying to build some towers over here. As you can see, they are coming from everywhere. It's like an unending wave. And the lords are pretty difficult to take down, so they are pretty annoying. And you know, if I had Celestial Intervention here, oof, that would have been so juicy. So juicy. That might have been enough actually if I had that spell right here. So here I have to send my guys back down again. So I'm just running back and forth trying to make sure they don't capture anything or take my supply locations. Oh wait, I did actually have it. Yeah. Never mind then. But yeah, it wasn't enough unfortunately. Yeah, it's been a while since I actually recorded these. I've been pretty busy with work lately. So at this point, it's just a grind really. My archers are running out of ammunition. I'm running out of Winds of Magic. I'm running out of peasants and warriors. And they are just coming in like an endless wave. These Kurgans, these marauders. You could of course have taken a defensive position back here, but when it comes to these major settlement defenses, there are 2 points which we have to hold. So if they take one and hold it for a certain amount of time, they actually win. So a Pyrrhic victory, but or for them, a valiant defeat for me. But that was pretty well considering the circumstances. This is another Bastion Defence which goes much better, pretty much just because of one thing. And that is because I have a lord and just enough units to press the control large army button. So they only can have one army at a time. So yeah, sure, they have one fewer army this time, but they also have way stronger war mammoths, trolls. The other army also has trolls, more champions, more berserkers. So they have taken down their quantity but increased their quality. But fortunately I have Shoyong. Sorry if I butchered that name. She is a Yang Shugunge or whatever they're called. They're basically your magic wielders. You have Yin and you have Yang. The Yang magic I feel is better, but the Yin one is not bad either. So let me just find her. Where is she? There she is. So you start off when you have a Lord Mage. Start off with Dragon's Breath. As you can see, only 5 winds of magic. I think that is with 1 skill point in, maybe. And Jade Shield, which gives 51% damage resistance. That is a little bit higher than its base, because you can see 15% extra intensity. I believe that is because of this. Mastery of Elemental Winds. When 2 or more units in the same army share this attribute, intensity increases the power of spellcasts. So that is because I have the hero, which you get from the garrison. I don't know where he is. Oh, he's right beside. You can see he also has that. So that's why we have increased damage on our spells and increased effects. But they have 4 winds of magic for 51% damage resistance for 11 seconds. The frost magic from Kislev also has something similar with Crystal Cloak. I think that gives 60% damage resistance base, but then you can't move. And it costs way more, like 16 or something. So this is incredibly strong. And also this is the other spell I was mentioning, Wall of Wind and Fire. Okay, I completely forgot what it was called. But yeah, it does a fair amount of damage. Non-armor piercing though. Both of these are non-armor piercing, so they're not really strong against Marauder champions, but regular Marauders and Marauder Berserkers, they're great against them. And you can see here how fast it moves, 3 meters a second. This one moves 25 meters a second. So this is a really slow spell. So for the best use, you should do it when they are standing here, for example, in a choke like this, and just move it down like this. Because it's really slow, but then they will be engaged, so they can't run away. And you will get a lot of damage on them with it. Here you can see the War Mammoth is coming in, so I've used the same strategy here. Should probably have targeted him, but it's okay. They are shooting him a little bit anyway, at least. And yeah, I don't think I showed you the beginning, but here you can see the towers shoot rocket battery like type of ammunition, so times 28, so they shoot 28 shots per 10 seconds, which is really good against infantry. As you can see, a lot of their infantry units are taking some damage, so that's another factor to play into compared to that last one. The War Mammoth there we go. Took half damage just from some of these archers shooting down here. And he's gonna come up here and try to take on my Celestial Dragon Guard. Here we have the Feral Mammoth, which is also trying to take on my other Celestial Dragon Guard. My archers are gonna say bye-bye to you. And bye-bye to you. How much mass does it have? Okay. 13k. Do I have... I don't have any like big large entities, but these guys have 125 mass. So this guy has... what's that? 100 times more? More than that? Holy crap. Mammoths are strong, dude. They don't care about your infantry. Holy crap. So yeah, here I use my Jade Shield. 44% damage resistance. That's not right. Yeah, 51%. It just says the base amount there for some reason. And I killed the feral one as well. So at this point, it's looking pretty well. Here you can see they have some more trolls and mammoth, but they can't come in until someone in the first army has died or routed off the map. So this way it makes it really easy for me to defend, because I won't get overwhelmed. I also had some ogres, yeah, some ogre bulls from a outpost from some of the ogre allies. So I did have a couple more units, but you know, the upgrades don't really matter at all. So at this point, all of their champions and marauders are gonna try to come over here. Some will try to recapture some of these points and go around the long way, but because I get so much more time, I get to build more towers and barricades to slow them down even more. Here you can see the trolls trying to go into my halberds. That's not gonna go well for you. The berserkers though, they are gonna do a lot of damage, so I try to send some of my archers back, I believe, in a second when I realize. Fighting this real time, of course, hard to notice everything when it happens. But yeah, I do send my crossbowmen back here, trying to kill them. One thing that I don't like though is you can't use magic or offensive spells anyway on top of or under a bridge or a barricade platform or whatever it's called. So just be wary of that. You can't use a breath spell on top of this or under it or anything like that. I don't quite know why, but that's just the way it is. So be wary of that. Here you can see some of their guys are trying to go around, so I have to respond to that by building some barricades over here and over here. They breached through this one, but I had some friendlies waiting for them. Building more barricades, and eventually I'm gonna build some towers over here. Having to send my guys back because I see, okay, they're actually sending quite a few units back here. So I'm capable of holding these points and send units back, which I didn't really have the opportunity to do last time because I was just outnumbered 3 or 4 to 1. So doing the control large army, I guess you can call it strategy, is really useful. So here you can see I'm also sending my lord up to cast some spells. I don't know how strong this tower is. I didn't really get time to investigate it, but it seems like it at least shoots over here, and I guess down here, but I don't know if it shoots down here or whatever. This one does though, shoots at least down here, so I just built the tier 1 and tier 2 tower here, just for some extra help, some extra damage. I was a little bit wary of these marauder champions, but I used my mass from the cav and the overballs to just throw them around a little bit, because they are they're strong if you just let them like stand in melee and fight, but they're not super super strong unit in on itself, if that makes sense. Like you can kick him around a little bit, bully him a little bit. So you can see at this point everything is going pretty well. We are 13 minutes in. Of course we're going fast forward, so 4 times the speed, but here you can see that the rest of their army is coming in. But at this point we are doing pretty well. It's actually even now. As you can see, we have 1400 units or entities, or whatever you want to call it, and they have 1500, so it's pretty even. We still have some ammunition left and everything is going pretty well. I am building some towers over here now because I have the supplies. They haven't actually taken a single one of my supply defensive locations, so it's going pretty well. And another thing to consider when you get the opportunity to do this with Control Large Army, since I am dealing a lot of damage to their balance of power, that means that, or simultaneously while I preserve a lot of my power and my balance of power, that means that the balance of power, the army loss penalties are more likely to come earlier. Basically what that means is the enemy thinks that they have lost the entire battle, even if they have maybe 5 or 6 units that are completely untouched. So trying to do as much damage as possible whilst simultaneously taking as little damage as possible is what's going to cause the army loss penalty on your enemy quicker, and of course resulting in you winning much harder, which is of course something you want to do, right? So here you can see that they are trying to get through my barricades, and at this point I'm kind of chilling because I can see, okay, they're coming up here, they're gonna get shot by the towers, and I'm gonna use some magic on them as well, which kind of went the wrong direction, but whatever. And for some reason they are taking their sweet time by coming in. Over here though, Feral Mammoth and a lot of them Marauders are coming in, so I have to redirect some of my archer to take this guy out because he's really the only threat they have left. So I just clump my guys up, and you can see how much damage my archer does. It's the Celestial Dragon Crossbowmen, so they deal a lot of damage. 15 armor piercing, 5 base missile damage, and they shoot 2 shots per volley. So yeah, they deal a lot of damage. And here you can see this guy, or this spell rather, how perfect it is in this corridor. Like exactly the same size as the corridor, so it's perfect. Can't really do much about these guys other than casting some spells, which I do. And over here, Trolls and some Marauder Berserkers are trying to get through my Celestial Dragon Guard, but 57 melee defense is pretty good, and if I had my archer unit a little bit closer I would get the Yin Yang upgrade or whatever. So here you can see the army loss penalty is inflicted even though they have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6.5, yeah, 6 units that are basically full health, which is why it's really important to win as hard as possible. And was that all? I guess that was all actually. Yeah. I thought maybe I had one more, but I guess not. So yeah, that was all that I had to show you today. With Grand Cathay, I recommend going for the tier 3 tower if you can afford it, and the tier 4 is really good against infantry, so building that can be really useful, but you have to like you have to make a judgment call basically yourself. And holding 1 point is probably your best strategy, and of course using your cavalry to recapture points. And in emergency, if you're really outnumbered, you can do what I failed to do in that second replay I showed you, where you see, okay, you're holding 1 point and it's going really south, so you use your cavalry to recapture one of the other points and then build a couple of towers there, so the enemy will have to run around and chase you down and take a lot of fire on the way, and that might give you the win. Otherwise, using your cavalry to rear charge and take out vulnerable units. Also, you can use the strategy I showed you in the first match, just try to use it a little bit better than what I did, and take out one of their vulnerable sides and then defend one of the points. So it's really easy to defend with Cathay most of the time, but also remember you're probably gonna come under heavy fire, so to speak. You are surrounded by a lot of enemies, both in Realms of Chaos and from what I have seen from streams and other content creators in Immortal Empires, there's going to be a lot of enemies. So I think this guide can be really useful if you are new, or even if you are experienced but you might not be so good at siege defenses, which is completely okay. This is a very new mode, and it takes some practice to know everything. Even I'm still learning, even though I play like a madman. But I hope this guide was something or somewhat useful, and I will see you next time with the Demon Prince, which is the last one for the Warhammer 3 races, and then we will move over to the Immortal Empire and we will just do all of the rest ones, but that's gonna take some time. So I hope you guys are going to continue watching this series, and I'll see you next time. Have a great day.